Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. We're looking at a high-voltage, 10-day psychological master script called the Unshakeable You. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill, dust-off-your-resume career advice. Oh no, this is a meticulously structured, highly aggressive psychological rebuilding program designed for modern professionals facing layoffs or deep career uncertainty. I am so pumped to break down exactly how this framework operates. Listen to this. Who gave them the absolute authority to tell you what you are worth? That is a massive, pattern-interrupting hook right out of the text. It uses this really aggressive, in-your-face framing for a reason to violently shake you out of that professional despair. It's literally demanding that we stop outsourcing our psychological stability to some faceless corporate entity. And honestly, the format of this script is just as fascinating as the content itself. Check out this actual prompt from the source. While it starts at day 1, the whole driving force behind this analysis is answering the ultimate question. Can you generate the video for day 10? This entire intense series was engineered as short-form, high-impact content specifically to interrupt doom scrolling. It pairs these striking visual cues with rapid psychological shifts, meeting you right where the anxiety lives, staring at your phone. Okay, so here's our roadmap for the Explainer. We're going to cover the short-form mindset shift, deconstructing corporate illusions, installing extreme self-belief, the armor of certainty, and finally, we'll hit that highly anticipated day 10, the reemergence. So, starting with part 1, the short-form mindset shift, interrupting the doom scroll. The script insists that before we can even begin to rebuild, we have to snap out of that digital trance. This structure brilliantly maps out the journey. Think of it like a corporate detox, just armed to the teeth. It perfectly mirrors the hero's crucible arc. Days 1 through 3 are the descent, deconstructing the lie. Days 4 to 7 are the crucible, actively installing new beliefs. And days 8 to 10, that's the resurrection, culminating in total invincibility. It's such a deliberate step-by-step progression. Moving on to part 2, deconstructing corporate illusions, the lies we believe. Let's look at the early days of the script, where the whole objective is to aggressively shatter those false identities we tie to job titles. Which brings us to this crucial concept from day 2, called the permission trap. The text describes this as walking through the world begging a broken system to give you a gold star and tell you that you're allowed to feel proud. The source goes hard here, calling out the sheer absurdity of letting automated HR algorithms act as the gatekeepers of our self-worth. You're letting a machine that just filters for keywords dictate your reality? The script basically demands you break out of that trap. To help visualize this, day 3 gives us an incredible metaphor. On one side, you've got the corporate ladder. The text exposes this as nothing more than temporary scaffolding, engineered to keep you anxious and desperate for validation, because, anxious people are super easy to control. On the other side is the ecosystem. When they pull that ladder away, you don't fall into an endless void. You land on solid earth. You are the soil, the root, and the tree, a totally self-contained entity. Building right on that, the text compares the workshop to the craftsman. The company you work for, that's just the workshop. It's just a building. But you are the master craftsman. Your mind, your skills, your strategic brilliance, those belong entirely to you. So if the workshop burns down or you get locked out, the craftsman doesn't magically lose their ability to build. The loss is entirely theirs, not yours. All right, part 3, installing extreme self-belief. You are the asset. Now we're entering the crucible phase, where the internal narrative violently shifts from desperation into absolute sovereignty. During a career transition, the world basically stops giving you structure. So day 6 introduces this daily indoctrination ritual. Step 1, look directly in the mirror. Step 2, out loud, list 3 impossible problems you've already beaten. Step 3, stop measuring your day by your employment status and start measuring your worth exclusively by your internal execution. You literally have to program your mind every single morning, otherwise that vacuum is just going to fill up with doubt. And a huge part of that execution is auditing your environment, which we see in day 7. The text is completely uncompromising here. It says you have to fire the voices telling you to be realistic. You have to reject the toxic poison of pity. Why? Because pity implies you're some broken victim waiting to be saved. Instead, demand high expectations and only surround yourself with giants who demand excellence. It's about fiercely protecting your mental fortress. Which leads into part 4, the armor of certainty, becoming completely untouchable. This is the final phase of the source material, where the framework transforms you from a desperate job seeker into a highly dangerous, untouchable asset. And I absolutely love how the text illustrates this with the invincibility paradox. Think about it. If a priceless diamond falls into a puddle of mud, does its molecular structure change? Does it turn into dirt? Obviously not. The corporate gatekeepers are the mud, heavy, blind to value. But you are the diamond. Your internal architecture remains flawless. The mud just simply doesn't know what to do with you. Because you're the diamond, you have to completely reframe the mud. The text says a rejection is not a verdict on your soul. It is simply a data point. When you get that email rejection, scientifically, it's just digital pixels on a screen forming the letters N and O. That's it. It has zero intrinsic emotional gravity. The only way it actually hurts you is if you manually choose to pick it up and stab yourself with it. And that brings us to part 5. Day 10, the reemergence, the final manifesto. This is what we've been building towards, answering that core question. Can you generate the video for day 10? This is the grand, high-voltage climax of the series, and it hits incredibly hard. The script kicks off this climax with an absolute sledgehammer of a hook. They thought they buried you, but they made a critical, catastrophic error. It completely flips the script. Being discarded by the corporate machine isn't a story of defeat anymore. It's actually the inciting incident for your ultimate triumph. Here is the core conceptual pivot of day 10. They thought they were putting you in a grave, pushing you aside, burying you. But they didn't realize you were a seed. And that grave, that was actually a crucible. It was the exact soil and mandatory training ground required for your evolution. Every silent night, every crushing moment of anxiety. It was just the pressure needed to burn away your illusions and forge real, sovereign discipline. I have to read this quote directly from the text because it perfectly hits the nail on the head. You had to lose their badge so you could find your own armor. You had to be pushed off their steady ladder so you could realize you had wings. I mean, wow. Notice how it ties all those earlier metaphors, the ladder, the armor, into one massive, empowering realization. Their comfort zone was making you soft, but this transition, it's making you lethal. The text makes it clear that just by surviving this, you've already won. Tested by the fire of uncertainty, you emerged as tempered steel. Going through the ghosting, the silence, and the immense pressure that would have easily broken a lesser person, it proves your spirit is completely unbroken. You become literally untouchable by the opinions of gatekeepers because your worth is a self-contained fact. So it all culminates right here. The dark days are over, the training phase is complete, the seed has broken through. The manifesto boldly declares that when you develop this radical level of self-belief and pair it with relentless execution, the physical world has absolutely no choice but to adjust to your level. Which leads us to this profound thought wrapping up the manifesto. Your reemergence isn't a vague hope. It isn't a wishful thought. It is a mathematical certainty. I love that. It totally strips away any lingering what-ifs and replaces them with sheer, unstoppable conviction. It's no longer a question of if you'll bounce back, it's just a matter of the math playing out. We're going to end this explainer with a final provocative question drawn straight from the essence of the script. The system thrives on your anxiety, so starve it. Are you ready to put on your armor and execute? Listen, you are an unshakable asset. You do not need a broken system's permission to be brilliant. I really hope this explainer leaves you feeling empowered, invulnerable, and ready to take on whatever comes next. Keep building, and we'll catch you next time.